Welcome viewers to the Personal Injury Law Show. My name is Tony Carbone, personal injury lawyer of over 25 years experience. This is a show where we talk about all things to do with personal injuries. Viewers, please keep in tune with the show by keeping up to date on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, those sorts of things. Tonight I've got with me John Karantzis, an accredited law specialist. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, viewers.
And John, accreditation, what does it mean?
I'm an accredited specialist in personal injury law, Tony. I've been accredited by the Law Institute of Victoria as a specialist in areas such as work cover, transport accident and public liability.
So John, you're like a surgeon.
I'm a surgeon of lawyers in one sense.
You're the orthopaedic surgeon of personal injury law.
Well, why not say neurosurgeon?
Neurosurgeon. And next to me I've got an up-and-coming star,
Hello.
Nadia.
Hi,
Good
viewers.
evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, and welcome to all the viewers.
And
Well, Tony, what's in the news this week?
what's in the news, John? There's two things I want to raise, but the first one, and it really alarms me, that the Bayu government's going to take $470 million out of the work cover system over 4 years. What does that mean, John?
Disgraceful. What's going on here, Tony?
Look,
I can't believe it. Are we jumping back to the Jeff Kennett era of the late 90s?
the bad old days.
And
where basically the scheme was run down and we lost common law entitlements.
Well, for your information, Nadia, they take the money out of the TA system every year anyway.
Well, I guess
Dividends.
you could argue, are we trying to be more like the TAC system? But it just seems so unfair because it's actually, you could almost say that it's not really government money, it's employee and employer money.
Well, my understanding is this, the premiums that they take from employers should be used to pay for injured workers.
To protect the workers, and
Exactly.
not only that, to protect work sites and make them much more safe and healthy for our workers.
Well, instead of not only the workers should be up in arms, the employers should be up in arms too, because if they're pulling that
Absolutely.
sort of money out, it means that their premiums are too high. They should be taking out less premiums because they're in surplus.
Tony, the scheme is very healthy. The work cover scheme is very healthy. There's $500 odd million to play with. Now, the government budget, the surplus, has been steadily
Diminished.
decreasing because, for example, stamp duty is not as high anymore, Tony. The GST, we're heading, as you know, into a bit of a recession, Tony. Now, the government are panicking, I would say, and have seen, work cover doing great. Let's take out $500 million and put it into general revenue.
The sad thing about the system,
Very
Nadia,
unfair.
is that with the amendments they've made to the legislation approximately 18 months ago, what they're doing is they're shifting a lot of cost onto the injured people now, because you've got to make elections to go for echo loss, you've got to decide
Absolutely.
whether to go for pain and suffering, and if you get it wrong, they penalise you from a cost point of view, John.
Exactly.
In brief, what does that mean?
Exactly. Well, Tony, as you know, when a worker wins their court case, a portion of the monies are paid by the Victorian Work Cover Authority. However, if you don't get, in one sense, what you ask for, as in economic loss,
That is loss of
loss
income, yeah.
payout, which is loss of income, you the worker, are punished. And instead of receiving maybe $20,000 in your party costs, you'll only receive $2,000.
So
Okay.
we could safely say it's very unfair to the injured
And so,
Victorian.
and Nadia, it comes out of the injured person's settlement at the end.
Absolutely. They're not benefiting from this new scheme that may be
And
taking
also,
place.
workers understand this. Not only has this amendment affected you, what you don't know is that prior to the amendment, you don't get 20% of your costs paid anyway. So that comes out of your money as well. Don't blame the lawyers when you find that your bills are high. Bottom line, the system is designed to minimise and shift cost onto a worker.
Tony, as we all know, the system is, we say, unfair. It's heavily stacked against the worker. But at the same time, we are still lucky and fortunate that we've got common law rights and statutory benefit rights for the injured worker. As
That's
you know,
exactly right.
there are many countries in Europe, Greece, Italy, for example, where workers have no rights whatsoever, Tony.
Well, there's other states in Australia that don't have the same rights as
Anyway,
Victorians.
let's not
So-
go there. Look, there's another matter I want to raise, and not too much detail, but there's a solicitor that sued their former employer, which is Morris Blackburn Cashman,
Yes, Tony.
for bullying. and it's been in court for approximately 2 weeks.
The plaintiff, Tony, Fiona Brown, a former lawyer of the defendant, Maurice Blackburn Cashman,
She's in family law, is that correct?
in family law, alleges as a result of bullying and other workplace issues at work, she's suffered from a psychological/psychiatric injury, Tony.
And interestingly, Nadia, her senior counsel is a Tasmanian lawyer because Maurice Blackburn don't have any offices in Tasmania,
Well,
from my
yeah,
understanding.
that's right.
For the defendant, Richard Stanley QC, Tony,
Very experienced counsel.
Very
experienced,
experienced.
very tough Queen's counsel. From what I understand, the matter is now in its 10th day of trial. Tony, the jury, would you believe, was discharged after the first day.
I say it's judge alone.
It's judge alone with Judge Carmody,
Okay.
who has only been on the bench for approximately 6 months.
Very
Tony.
experienced, but
Exactly.
barrister at law for many, many years.
Exactly.
It's going to be a tough case.
Yes.
It's not
It's a
going
tough
to be
case
easy.
because, Tony, as we all know, issue of fault and negligence is
In bullying
pivotal
cases,
here.
it's not overly hard to get a serious injury for stress, anxiety and psychiatric injuries, but it's very
It's-
hard to prove fault.
Exactly. Who did the bullying and what sort of bullying arose?
Can I take us to... I want to move on from this because time sadly flies when
Yes.
we're doing this show. But can I take us to our first case of Pasqualito and Pasqualito? Do you want to give me the facts of that, please,
Yeah,
Nadia?
it's an interesting case. Essentially, we have a young man who was working in a tobacco farm in Myrtleford, and he has subsequently a low back injury. He has it operated on and then returns back to work. Interestingly, his parents are his employers, gets back on the farm and re-aggravates his back.
But Nadia, can I just stop you there for a minute?
Yes.
The first accident he had was a car accident.
Well, that's
And
right.
my understanding
yes.
was he had the surgery and he was compensated for that
That's
car
right.
accident.
And his new injury is actually at a different lumbar segment, so it's a different actual segment
So
in
it's
the
a
spine.
different level of the spine.
Yes, it's his L3, L4
and the
section.
transport accident occurred years
That's
before.
right, and that was a bit lower down, L4, L5 and L5S1.
John, his treating surgeon, Dr. Brazenor,
Yes.
or Mr. Brazenor,
Mr. Brazenor.
gave him an important bit of advice. What was that? Or will we come back to that just after the sponsors
Exactly.
break? Viewers, don't go away. John's going to come back with this important bit of advice. Stay tuned and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.